Alrighty, welcome to episode 232 of Tokwa's Ask Us Anything, which this week is featuring full self-driving supervised. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. In fact, actually, it's been a blockbuster week. Tesla has soft launched its full self-driving supervised advanced driver assist system in Australia, with only a handful of non-Tesla employees either being lent an FSD-enabled car from Tesla or having their own cars loaded with FSD software. At this stage, Tesla has not announced timing of a wide release of FSD supervised, except to say they have stated that it's, quote, coming soon.
Humans are tool makers, and at Tesla, we are builders of physical products at scale that make life better for all. We have been working tirelessly to create the foundation for a technological renaissance through the development of electric vehicles, energy products, and humanoid robots. This next chapter will be on an even grander scale than we have yet to see. We are building the products and services that bring AI into the physical world. We are combining our manufacturing capabilities with our autonomous prowess to accelerate global prosperity. We are building a safer, cleaner, and more enjoyable world for all. We call this sustainable abundance.
What's the happiest future you could imagine? One which there's sustainable abundance for all.
Tesla has launched its new Model Y Performance. Priced from about $98,000 drive away, the new performance variant is set to arrive in Australia between December and February. Tesla has announced details of its 2025 CEO Performance Award. Should Elon Musk's efforts succeed in Tesla achieving 12 levels of market capitalization ranging from $2 to $8.5 trillion, as well as paired product and earnings goals ranging from the deployment of 1 million robotaxis and Optimus robots, and annual earnings ranging from $50 to $400 billion, he will earn a total of 12% of the current share float, which is expected to have an allocated accounting value of about $83 billion. Tesla has revealed its third-generation Megapack and related Megablock. Each Megapack 3 has a 5 MWh energy storage capacity with an industry-leading 91% round-trip efficiency and a 25-year life cycle. When 4 Megapacks are combined with a simplified busbar-based integrated transformer and switchgear, they then form a rapidly deployable Megablock. This architecture dramatically reduces installation costs and installation and commissioning timeframes. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and once again, welcome to the program. And we've got a big crowd tonight. I just don't quite know why. But yeah, once again, welcome. If there is anyone who is new and is comfortable in doing so, please do unmute and say hello.
Oh, hi, I'm Anthony Watts. I'm been watching for some time the Tesla Owners Club, and I am expecting to pick up my car this Saturday.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. Hmm.
Congratulations and welcome. Welcome. And no doubt you're going to have some questions about it, so do please feel free to ask away anytime you like. Let's see if we've got anyone else who would like to say hello. Perhaps a little bit later on. Okay, so we're not going to bury the lead. Obviously, this has been spruiked as an FSD supervised special episode. Although obviously in the news you saw there's massive news with Elon Musk's 2025 CEO Compensation Award, which will get voted on in this November's shareholders meeting. But let's go to full self-driving. And yes, regrettably, 2 weeks ago, when we had Ask Us Anything, it was going to be that following Friday that Tesla was going to launch FSD supervised in Australia. and they didn't so much as launch it, but as to basically allow some of the embargoed content that some motoring journalists and others had produced to be released, and that was at midnight on that Friday. And also, sadly, download FSD software to, I think it was 6 or 7, let's call it a handful of non-Tesla employees. I guess happily, two of those non-Tesla employees or non-employees of Tesla are in WA, and they're both in the room tonight. And I regret to say one of them was myself, and pleased to say that one was Pete, the other was Pete Petrosky. I guess the elephant in the room is, well, why don't Tesla launch this wider? Oh, and here's a couple of facts that we know and we can explain. So you absolutely do need a software update. The update is rather large. It's, I think from memory, about 6.5 gigabytes of update. And actually that actually pales into insignificance compared to the data that gets sent to the Tesla's mothership. So in the last week and a bit, I think my computer's logged, or my router has logged about 300 and probably 340 gigabytes that have gone up. And since we had that update 2 Fridays ago, there's been no subsequent update yet. So there's no refinement of the model. Bearing in mind that FSD very much has its DNA in left-hand drive cars, not right-hand drive cars. And as you may have seen several videos, whether it's mine or Pete's or some of the other videos produced in the eastern states, the car certainly does do some interesting things in certain windy roads. It's something that Tesla has to flush out that sort of ancient DNA that's in the models. It's absolutely awesome. I'll let Pete describe his experience. But like I said, there's these little niggling things that have to be resolved. And once they are, and no one really knows how long that's going to take, but certainly certainly many weeks or weeks, maybe 1 or 2 months. But once those sort of potentially awkward situations or behavior is settled, is flushed out of the system, then Tesla will very much so be more comfortable in launching it widely. Now, I guess the rhetorical question is, well, why aren't any one of you good enough to try this software? And the answer is any one of you absolutely are. But I must admit, and I'm sure many of you in the room will admit yourselves, when I was using autopilot, I was very much often in the zone, not really paying attention, even though, all the fine print says you must and you should. I was as guilty as anyone else of not paying close attention to autopilot. In FSD, that is usually the case. You can afford to not pay too much attention, especially on freeways and things like that. But it's just a few little bits and pieces where it does perform badly. And like I said, until that gets flushed out, Tesla will not release it widely. Bearing in mind, widely means hardware for cars. So that is Highland Model 3s and Model Ys produced since about roughly April last year. Pete, what's your impression of FSD supervised?
I think it's absolutely incredible. I think it's just miles ahead of the old autopilot version. You can't compare the two. It is just so much more advanced, so much more capable. It's much more reliable. But as Harold said, there are still some kinks that definitely need to be ironed out. It is exactly what Tesla says it is. It is FSD supervised, and which is full self-driving but supervised. And full self-driving it definitely is. When both Harold and I drive it or ride it or not drive it, however you want to describe
Supervise
whatever
it.
it is that we're doing. we're not touching I touch the steering wheel in that I just very lightly make contact with my thumb and the steering wheel, just so I have another sensor input apart from my eyes and balance, etc. And I plant my right foot on my heel and I hover my heel either over the accelerator or the brake. Um, Now, I used to be very much hunched over and very much concentrating really hard the first, few hours, and I have relaxed a lot. But there have been situations where I had to um, do safety disengagements, which made me once again just always have in the back of my mind that this is not software that's been released to the public yet. It's just testing software, and hence I've got to be really careful and paying attention at all times. But yeah, I think it's going to be an absolute game changer. I can see a path to FSD unsupervised, but yes, there's still a lot that needs to be done. Elon was on the All In podcast, was it yesterday or the day before? He said by the end of the year we'll have version 14, which is the robo taxis are running one version of version 14, if that makes sense, or an early version of that. So it's going to be a more polished version once it comes out to the public. And I think it's going to be, absolutely amazing. So, yes, it's absolutely incredible, but still requires supervision.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Has anyone, oh, actually, no, there was a question I got via email, and the gentleman was basically saying, well, he's bought FSD and he hasn't noticed any difference. What's going on? Why isn't it vastly better? The reason for that is what everyone has on their cars if they've purchased FSD, sadly, except for Pete and myself, is really just autopilot. It's just a more feature-rich version of autopilot. So you will know when you get FSD supervised, if you've purchased FSD and you have a hardware 4 car, you will know because there will be a software download and it will actually have in the notes FSD supervised. That's the difference. And it'll also say down under. So you will absolutely know the difference. In fact, if you get the download, you'll have 3 options. You'll be able to select under the autopilot menu. You'll be able to select traffic aware cruise control, or autopilot, or FSD supervised. So there'll be 3 settings. It is actually a different build to the United States. So, for example, some of our North American friends will ask things like, well, have you tried, because one of the things that FSD supervised does at the moment is it doesn't always get up to the speed limit, and you sort of have to occasionally tap the accelerator to help it along a little bit. And it's a known idiosyncrasy of FSD supervised at the moment. And our American friends will ask us things like, well, why don't you put it in hurry mode? Because I think there's a chill mode, a standard mode, and a hurry mode, something like that. And
I think it's chill average. I think it's chill, average, and assertive. I think those are
Oh, okay. I
the
thought
3
they also
options.
had a hurry or something, but maybe they've
Right.
changed the wording. But that's certainly not a feature of FSD supervised in Australia. In fact, there are no controls. There is a esoteric control that has sort of like you can increase the speed tolerance. Well, I haven't really found it does much. So you can increase the speed by 5% or 10%, and I think even up to 20%. But I haven't really found anything. I've just left it at 5, and it doesn't really do much.
Ha- Harold, the fact that we don't have those 3 options, do you think that's something that's unique to the right-hand drive version, or do you think it's just unique to the test versions that we have? And once it's opened up to the public, that functionality will return.
It's entirely possible, yes, maybe because this is effectively a pretty much a closed release, or it's a very limited release. Perhaps they just haven't bothered to do those extra settings. the thing that strikes me as interesting is in the States, speeding, structuralized speeding is completely tolerated. It's in fact in many regions it's expected that you're expected to keep with the flow and the weird idea being, well, as long as you stay with the flow and you're not at the head of the pack going the fastest, then the police won't pull you over, which in Australia is absolutely weird and strange. And in Australia, we rightly, as legislated, actively control people's speed to the limit, and you should not go beyond it. So perhaps these notions of those different sort of levels of aggressiveness aren't as relevant in Australia. I don't know. It's a good question, Pete. I guess we'll find out in the coming months once there's a wide release of whether some other features will creep in, or maybe just not. And to be honest, once FSD is actually driving the way it should, which is doing its best to get to the speed limit all the time and just ironing out a few little glitches. In fact, one of the largest glitches, sources of error for FSD supervised, is actually got nothing to do with the actual FSD part of the system. It's the navigation planning part. So our cars, and I'm sure Pete's had similar situations, our cars will put themselves in situations where it's difficult for them to get themselves out of it, because rather than choosing a right-hand lane to do a right-hand turn, which subsequently has to go right at a next turn, it sweeps to the left lane and then far, far left-hand lane, and then the car finds itself needing to cross 4 lanes of traffic, which I observed while talking to Pete on the phone. It actually did remarkably well, and there was a gap, but it did it at a 45-degree angle, and that's cool too. But it didn't need to have done that had the navigation system or the way it interacts chosen a better lane in the first place. So some of these inopportune sort of things or situations, it's got nothing to do with the logic of the actual full self-driving part itself. I'm sure anyone that's got enhanced autopilot or FSD, let's call it classic FSD, you know that when you do a semi-automatic lane change, the car changes lanes quite aggressively. It sort of, I'd say, at about a 35-degree angle, maybe, yeah, maybe something like that. It's quite a rapid lane change, and not very sort of smooth. In FSD, it's buttery smooth, and the remarkable thing is it's very human. So when it decides to change lane, I had a situation where I was on Canning Highway turning left up some street, and someone had actually turned left who was in front of me, parked the car on the corner picking up a pedestrian, and my car just simply sort of turned a bit wide of that person and just sort of smoothly drove past as if they weren't there. It didn't sort of brake and think about it. One thing that's different to humans is us humans, we might see an opportunity to do something, but we've got to check front, back, sides, everything, and we've only got 2 eyes, and we've got to do that sort of sequentially. FSD can make those decisions in milliseconds because it has omnipotent view of everywhere all at once. So it doesn't need to do what we need to do, which is just take a moment just to check that something else is clear. It just simply executes the move and does it super smoothly, and like I said, it does it just like a human. And
Actually,
it's something.
I was just going to say, actually, I had that exact example today. So I was on West Coast Highway and I was turning right into one of the perpendicular roads, and there were 2 cars in front of me, and the cars coming the other way, there was a speed hump about 20 or 30 meters away, and the car started sort of overtaking the 2 cars in front of me to sort of go into the right lane. So the right lane wasn't there. It was a little bit forward, maybe 4 or 5 meters, but it started sort of as a human would do. And what I did is I looked at the cars coming, and they were coming at 30, 40 kilometers an hour. And then I looked down at my nose to see if the car was going to go wide enough of the cars in front of me. But by the time I looked up, the car was already accelerating. So, and I lost my nerve and I pressed the brake. And I didn't realize until afterwards that I didn't need to do that at all. The car was actually smarter than I was in that situation because it was able to do both. It was able to monitor the cars 20, 30 meters up in front, as well as the two cars right in front of me. So we as humans only have two cameras, and they can only, exactly as you said, they can only focus on one thing at a time. So that whole sequence might have taken a second or so, but I still had to go between those cars out there, the cars here, and those cars out there again. And because the computer could do all that simultaneously, it was ahead of me. So yeah,
Yeah,
exactly as you
absolutely.
said.
And the thing is, and like I said, I feel terrible that there's only a couple of us that have it at this stage, and I really genuinely do feel terrible about that, and I really mean that. What you are going to get for those who have purchased FSD, it's going to be so good. This sounds weird, that it'll be really anticlimactic in that you'll jump in your car, you'll press the blue button, you've got to set, to make it work properly, well, best, you've got to set a destination, but that's not essential. But set a destination, hit the blue button, and it'll just perform perfectly. And within literally just a couple of minutes, you'll go, oh, this thing just works as it's supposed to. And it'll be one of the most anticlimactic things you've ever experienced, because it sounds funny. There's nothing special about it. It just works. It's not like it's flashy or it's something. It's as if a really smooth driver was driving the car. And the visualization, as you've probably seen on the thumbnail in the email or on many videos, it can go full widescreen. The actual detail is amazing, but like I said, it's anticlimactic. It just works, and all the wait will be worth it. And some of us have waited 8 years and counting, or just on 8 years. So it's well worth the wait. Oh, some other bit of good news is Tesla did announce that they will be introducing an FSD supervised subscription. So you won't have to shell out the $10,100, which is the current price for FSD. It's likely to be, well, let's put it this way, the American version is 99 US. A simple currency conversion converts that to roughly $150 Australian per month. So that's something you could do.
What was that actually Tesla that announced?
Yes, it was.
Specifically, they confirmed?
It was
Okay.
it was a journalist that basically said that Tesla said that it was one of the
Right.
news,
So we haven't heard it from Tesla directly as yet.
oh, well, I certainly can. I can, when we're back in 2 weeks' time, I'll confirm it absolutely. But I have no reason to believe that that was made up, because in fact,
It
it's not
makes
something
it
that a
makes complete
journalist.
sense. It makes
Well,
complete sense that they would offer
yeah,
subscription.
absolutely, and that's what they announced that Tesla said. I didn't bother asking Tesla myself, but I have no reason to doubt that media announcement or yeah. So that was actually one of the mainstream media journalists, which, to be fair, the mainstream media coverage has been mostly positive, except for a few silly little comments and other things, but and some personal opinions. Some people go, I can't believe it. I just, it can't surely be safe. I'd freak out. I wouldn't want to do this. Like I said, for any of you that either get the subscription or have paid for FSD or choose to pay for it, it will be so smooth and so normal that it will be very anticlimactic.
Boring.
Very boring.
It will be boring, which
Yes.
is that's the exciting thing, because the more boring it is, the closer we are to robo taxis. Because just like a plane ride or a plane flight, you don't want it to be eventful. You want it to be boring. So
That's right.
same thing with a robo taxi. You want it to be uneventful and boring.
Indeed. Indeed. All right. We should throw it to the floor. If anyone's got any questions about it, or anything else as for that matter, but let's
James
just for
Bennett
now.
looks like he's got his hand up.
Yes, James, go.
Yeah, hi everyone. I don't know how to put this. It's all great, but I've got a Model Y. It's just about a year old. I'm talking to you from Margaret River. We drive between Margaret River and Perth probably every other week. The last 3 trips, we've had 4 phantom brakings or whatever you
Yep.
want to call it. So I hear all this thing about FSD, but frankly, I've got a wife who is frightened of the car now because
Yep.
we almost, on 2 of those braking incidents, we had someone almost come in the back of us. You know, the car's only a year old. We swapped it
Yep.
out for a Subaru Forester that worked beautifully. The car is frightening, and
Okay.
we barely dare put it in autopilot. And if we've got our cardinal rule is, if we got someone within 100 meters of us, we're driving it manually because we don't trust it anymore.
Okay.
And we
So
had braking on
What situations
shadows.
hang on,
Okay.
Pete. Hang on, Pete.
Let me describe it. So the new Bunbury bypass, the most northern bridge when you're going north, the Gibler
Yep.
Bridge.
Yes.
I don't know what it is about that bridge, but that car pretty well brakes every time we're heading north, and we've come to anticipate it and take it out of autopilot. And then just north of the Crooked Carrot, there was a really strong shadow on the road from a tree, slammed on the brakes. That was really scary because we had someone close. Then heading south last week on the Bunbury bypass, there was a change in tarmac color, good weather, and the car braked urgently for that. It's scary. And, you
Okay.
know, I hear you saying all this about FSD, but I feel like I've been abandoned. You know, I've got a perfectly
Yep.
good car, love it, but golly gosh.
Okay. So let me respond. So firstly, like I described, FSD is nothing like autopilot whatsoever. There are lots of causes of autopilot doing phantom braking. One of the most classic ones is if it sees a car in a T intersection at the T facing perpendicular to you, it will sometimes phantom brake. Most of us owners that have had cars for a while, Teslas for a while, we're accustomed to it. And what we do is simply have our foot resting near the accelerator, and you can actually very quickly stop the phantom braking by simply just gently pressing on the accelerator, and that will immediately stop braking.
That's
Now,
what I
that's
do.
not to allay your concern, and it's a known thing. So, and I
sorry,
hear your
Harold, can I just
frustration.
interrupt and-
Well, hang on, Pete. Pete, I'm just talking
I
for a
just-
minute. Pete, I just want to finish my sentence, please. So, I understand your concern, James. So, it is quite disturbing when you get these phantom brakes. It's something that autopilot in the last 6 months, 8 months of sort of it's almost becoming a little bit more jittery about potential threats on the road. So it's something that's very well known. To be honest, I don't know that there's a lot that Tesla's going to do about it. Something we don't know yet is when FSD becomes widely released, is whether they will effectively have a feature reduced version of FSD become autopilot. So in other words, if you've heard the Pete and I describing the smoothness of FSD, because it's a completely different, this is a complete rewrite of everything. It's to describe the 2 different systems, autopilot is akin to a basic program that's a sequential program that has distinct rules, and it will have a distinctive procedure on how to deal with certain things it perceives. It's just like a classic computer program. FSD supervised is something that is end-to-end neural network learned, and there's a complete neural network or many neural networks in the computer that are running, and they run like a black box, whereby it's sort of like this mysterious process that occurs, and no one really knows quite how it works, but they do know how to program it and how to get it to do what they need it to do. So autopilot and FSD are completely chalk and cheese. Something none of us know at this stage is when, and it's not if, but when FSD supervised becomes widely released, it's plausible that Tesla may then effectively delete the autopilot that you have, James, and replace it with a feature reduced subset of the neural processing of FSD, in which case I can tell you now, and I'm confident that Pete would have the same experience. I've had zero phantom braking, none.
Yeah,
And I've actually had a lack of phantom braking when I've seen a car sort of, let's say, coming in hot to a T intersection and sort of poking its nose just into the road a little bit after coming in fairly hot, and they kind of braked late. Now, I have no doubt that if autopilot even had a sniff of that, it would have just slammed the brakes on. FSD just glides past because the way it does one of its functions is to do path prediction. So it doesn't just look at an object as being still or even a sequence of images. It actually projects all the paths of all the potential threats, whether they're vehicles or vulnerable road users, which is people, animals, whatever. So it's so advanced in the way it can perceive all of that instantaneously that, like I said, even quite aggressive and inappropriate drivers appearing to us mere humans as potentially being a threat, FSD just breezes past and goes, no, I've got it sorted. I've worked out that they were going to stop anyway. So
That's all great, Harold, but I feel I'm going to end up with something, a stranded asset. It's a damn good car. We paid a lot of money for it, and
Yep.
it's got this flaw, and I just wish they would fix it rather than getting
But
excited about.
James, what I'm trying to say
other
is
stuff.
we don't know. My suggestion is there's three things you can do. You can sell the car, you can persist with it the way it is at the moment, or look forward. And like I said, we don't know. I personally think it makes sense for Tesla to remove autopilot from everyone's car and substitute it for those that don't wish to pay the $10,000 or the $150 a week, a month, sorry, which is probably the predicted thing for FSD, is to flush out autopilot and replace it with an equivalent of FSD that has autopilot functionality. In other words, it won't automatically turn left and right at intersections because that's not what autopilot does, but it will do very effective lane keeping and possibly a couple of other functions. So at this stage, I can't reassure you and say I know for sure that that's what Tesla's going to do. All I can say is it makes logical sense for them to do that. But it's not a stranded asset because, for example, if you were to add $10,000 to it and get FSD, and like I said, please don't, and anyone else that's in the room or watching this, the hardest thing for you to do is you need to decouple anything that autopilot has ever done from FSD. It is such chalk and cheese. It's just not funny. It's literally, there's nothing you've seen it do in autopilot that it ever does in FSD. So, yeah, James, I know it's
Harold,
frustrating.
can I say what I wanted to say before when I was
Yeah,
interjecting?
fine, Pete. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so what James was talking about there, especially around the crooked carrot, etc., and Harold, what you were describing in terms of the braking that occurs when a car is coming in from a side road, that's not phantom braking. That's not shadow braking, and we shouldn't be calling it that. There's a reason why the car is braking, and it's because there's a car coming in from the side. So if you want to describe it as anything, you can describe it as overcautious braking or braking that's too hard or what have you, but that's not phantom braking. We know exactly why that is. And if you actually read the disclaimer that you have to accept before you use auto steer in Australia, it specifically says that the software has been designed to be used only on highways with a clear medium strip. So that road near the with no cross traffic, etc. So that road near the Crooked Carrot, you're not supposed to be using it there. So if you are getting phantom braking there, you are using the software in a way that it hasn't been designed, in a
Hang on,
in a
hang on, hang
situation.
on, Peter. Peter, I just stopped you there. We're on a dual carriageway road with good road markings. We're doing 110. We've probably got a car 300 meters ahead, a car behind, clear road, and there's a shadow of a tree across the road, and the car brakes. I'm sorry, that's not
different.
good.
That's not what I'm talking about.
That's what
different.
I'm describing to you guys and everyone listening.
Absolutely.
And it is terrifying.
Okay.
You got a car coming behind you, and you're going from 110 to 80 for no reason. By golly,
it doesn't drop 30 kilometers.
Okay.
An
well,
hour.
It is scary, Pete. So don't.
Okay,
it doesn't drop 30 kilometers an hour.
Let's not be shouting at each other.
Okay.
Okay. Let's not be shouting at each other. So, James, you've had a great go of explaining the situation, and I empathise.
Point. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a point well made. So, the only thing I can address. Hang on, Pete. We're gonna land this plane in a minute, very quickly. In fact, otherwise So, James has made his point. Pete, you've made your point. I've made some points. We don't know what's happening in the future. It's something we know occurs. There's nothing as Tesla owners that we can do about it. We know this system is in development. Like I said, FSD is not autopilot. It's not a better version of autopilot. It's a complete rewrite. In fact, not even a rewrite. It's a completely different architecture. Like I said, it's plausible that Tesla will resolve this by simply allowing everyone with autopilot to have a nobbled version or a reduced version of FSD. Like I said, I've gotten used to, when I was using autopilot, to just hover my foot, and I can pick all the situations. Sometimes shadows, that does happen, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but certainly cross traffic makes a lot of sense. Lots of other things that autopilot does.
No disagreement there.
The good thing is FSD is completely different. It's a completely different architecture, and without repeating myself 3 times already, it's plausible that will then resolve all these issues.
But James, you can always turn autopilot off. You don't have to have it on. So especially in situations where it's shadow brakes, don't use it. Use traffic aware cruise control instead, or just you drive it like any other car. So you've always got that as an option. But I just wanted to say, I wasn't disagreeing with you. I was just making a distinction. Yes, there is phantom braking. Yes, there is shadow braking. But people get it confused with the overcautious braking and the Crooked Carrot. That's not phantom braking. I know that area. I don't drive it as often as you do, but I do know that area. So that's not phantom braking there. So, when the car's coming in from the side, there's a reason why that happens.
I'm not saying that, Pete. And the Subaru used to be very cautious about a car coming in from the side. But, we brought, a Tesla high-tech, latest stuff. I am just saying I'm really surprised the number of times this car brakes on its own in an open road with no threat ahead other than a change in tarmac color or a heavy shadow. It's scary.
But that's why it's in beta mode.
Okay. All right, so let's just end it there. We've done. Yeah, okay. Well, let's just put a pin in it now. Paul, you got your hand up. Was it about?
I got my hand up.
To say something.
I'm going to add on to that. So this sounds like it's autopilot and not full self-driving. So Pete was kind enough to actually take me for a spin for 4 hours in the new full self-driving, and we actually took it out we were doing something else, and then he put it back in. But what he had done was put it back in autopilot, and then we had a break, and it was like, oh, that's the first thing. And I went, no, I reckon we were in autopilot, because that what autopilot would have done at that situation. We checked, and it was like, yes, we were in autopilot and not full self-driving. So, I've been driving for 6 years, and you get these things where you just, unfortunately, it's one of those, features, not a bug. You just have your foot over the accelerator and you just sort of, you just get ready for it. But to tell you the truth, when I had my car, when I first had it, it was a lot worse than all this. It's actually got better. So it's not a stranded asset. It actually is the only car I've ever had that actually got better over time, not worse.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's the safest car that there actually is. So I would just enjoy the car, don't stress about it all. And on another note, I saw Busselton superchargers are up and running. So I'm going to be going down for a spin. Maybe not this
Fantastic.
weekend because it's wet, but the
Yeah,
weekend after because
that's
that's
going to
where I
be
normally go.
really
Yeah,
useful asset for us.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So
Absolutely.
just
absolutely.
have fun.
Okay,
Okay,
I mean, we're
thanks.
all
yeah,
peace and love, guys.
but James, please, look, there's definitely a giant light at the end of the tunnel. I really do believe that,
Oh
and
yeah, definitely.
I mean, it just doesn't make sense for Tesla to keep autopilot in its current condition with all its foibles and lack of development. It just makes perfect sense to slide it. And like I said, at the moment, FSD supervised in Australia is very much beta,
Mm.
and but once it's not, it makes perfect sense to port it across to all cars, and you just have a reduced feature set. So look, please be patient with the car, and yeah, it's a very effective technique. Sometimes if you actually rest your foot on the accelerator, I know this sounds a little bit cute, but when the car brakes, your body naturally goes forwards and your foot then presses on the pedal and almost stops the braking immediately. I'm not saying that that's, the safest thing to do or whatever, and that you should need to have to do this forever, but my feeling is you won't. So let's just
Yeah.
see what happens over the next couple of months, and fingers crossed it'll all work out well.
Thank you.
Yeah, if you feel it's
Bear,
unsafe, just don't use it for a few months.
yeah, but bear in mind, full disclosure, there is a um, class action lawsuit against Tesla and one of the prime things they're talking about is phantom braking. And trust me, if there was any way for Tesla to reduce the arguments in that lawsuit or whatever, I dare say they will be quite motivated to stop phantom braking. And the simplest way to do that is port FSD to all cars in a
Yeah.
reduced feature set. So let's just see how that happens. Okay, we got a couple of. I didn't see whether it was Huffy's or Trev. So
Well,
whoever was
Trev's
first.
there and Huffy's isn't, so I
Oh,
think
okay. Well, Trev's there. All right, we'll go to Trev and then straight to Huffy's.
I was just adding on to that point, so it's probably maybe better I went first anyway. But I was just going to quickly say my house is one side of the crooked carrot and works on the other side, and I'm convinced through that area, it's the fact that there's two spots where there's left-hand slip lanes and right-hand slip lanes. I reckon the car thinks there's a T-junction coming up because it doesn't matter whether it's daytime or nighttime, shadows or no shadows. My car probably does it 60% of the time through there. So if I've got a clear section of road, my feet will be well off the pedals. I'll be kicked back and relaxing. But if I've got a car behind me, I always rest my foot on the throttle and I'll bring it up to the point where it says the car will not brake or whatever. And I'll get through those one or two spots. And then I take my foot back off again. So I think it's the lane markings that trigger that one spot rather than actually shadows. And it doesn't matter whether it's cruise control or autopilot, it seems to happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool,
I
awesome.
quickly
No
I
worries.
quickly second that. There's exactly the same sort of road marking southbound coming from Geraldton, just coming through Gin that has exactly the same things: a slip road to the left and painted chevrons to the right. It brakes like a maniac every time there. So I turn off autopilot for 10 seconds and then turn it back on again every time there. So I think it's just a thing. So anyway, let's move on.
And
Yeah.
that's what the
Okay.
disclaimer says, not to use it in that situation.
Okay.
It's okay,
Yeah.
Pete.
All right, Pete. Let's please, Pete. The best way to antagonize someone is to say you're not using the software right. If you read Tesla's fine print, it would basically absolve them of any use of autopilot in any situation that's not literally two parallel lines at midday with no foliage, no nothing, no cars, nothing. What we all have to accept is, as much as fine print say things, we in day-to-day use of cars, we use them, on every road that's got markings or whatever, and we just got to, Tesla have to sort of help us out as mere humans to interact with the environment. Something that Tesla used to be fond of doing 4 years ago, when Ken and myself had classic Model S's and Model X's and all that sort of stuff, is whenever we complained about some atrocious behavior of a very, very poorly behaved autopilot in the good old days, they would tweely sort of state to us, "Oh yes, but it's beta." Well, if it's beta, then it shouldn't be in public release, and you can't just rest on it's beta forever, because at one stage you've got to say this thing is as good as it gets, and you've got to cope with it. So anyway, Huffy's, you're next. Yeah, okay. Let's just put a pin. Let's just drop it, please, Pete. We've ventilated it. There'll be a subset of people that autopilot is actually quite discombobulating, and I'll agree with them, because when I use it, my right foot is basically resting on the accelerator, and I know all the places it's going to do it, and I'm ready for it, and I accept that. Do I? And I even, when I hear that there's a what do you call it, a class action, I sort of think, you know what, they've probably got a good chance of winning it, because the amount of data they'll have from witnesses who have had cars either collide in their rear end because they weren't aware of what was happening. It's a pretty compelling case, just quietly. So the best Tesla can do is simply resolve it. Port FSD to all cars once they've perfected it, and get over it. Just it's the best thing to do.
Well, that can also turn off autopilot. So,
we also don't have. Okay, let's go to Huffy's.
Guys, I just want to ask Pete or you, just how does FSD behave, for example, on the new Cedric off-ramp, where the maps actually tells you to go some other way, and because there's a temporary road, obviously that's a navigation map issue. So have you tried going through there? And
which one? Sorry, where Huffy's?
If you're on Cedric Street and you're trying to head towards the city, so you're going off,
yes.
It's obviously a map issue, I know that, but
yes. Okay. So
something like that, is it obviously you just disengage and you try?
Yeah, so what that I haven't done Cedric Street, but for example, I've done the Bunbury bypass, and Tesla uses 3 systems to do driving, navigation, whatever. The first thing is the map that you see on your screen is done by Google, and that's usually deadly accurate or up to date. The actual navigation route planning is done through TomTom, and the speed limit indication is done through OpenStreetMaps. So in my case, when I went down to Manjimup and I went on the bypass, you get this silly situation whereby on the visualization, you see your red arrow going along the Google's laid down road, but TomTom's blue line of navigation actually sometimes goes backwards, because it's going, well, you're in a paddock, and it wants you to get to the nearest road that it knows exists. So that's completely discombobulating. And then what can happen is, as you go over a flyover, which is or was a normal road before it was a bridge, it will actually slow down, not hard, but it'll slow down, anticipating a turn onto that road, which of course it can't do because you're going on a bridge or underneath a bridge. So there's a definite disconnection between route planning and what FSD does. What FSD generally does is keep driving in a forwards direction, and it will keep doing that by perceiving what it can see in front of it. So an example of that is, I went down to a mate's place near Denmark and went on a dirt road that's not even on the map, and there's trees either side, and it's just no lane markings, it's just dirt. and it just slowly picks its way through and just sees where can I keep going. So
I saw
so
that video. Very nice.
yeah. So you eventually get to like a dead end, but it's not actually a dead end because there's trees there and a fallen tree across, sort of blocking what was the track. It then saw that there was actually a bit of dirt to the right of that, and it just followed it. So FSD will generally keep pushing forwards. In the email and the promo I put on Facebook, well, the image that was coming into the city, and at the time, actually, it must have been some protests or something. They'd closed a couple of lanes in the off ramp when my wife and I went round the Swan River, and it just perceives, even though there's lane markings, it perceives witches' hats, and the witches' hats are there to funnel you into a sort of an improvised lane. And that's exactly what FSD does. It just interprets the environment as a human would, scarily well, and just sort of follows witches' hats or whatever it is that it needs to do. So, but it's definitely distinct from the navigation planning. And to be honest, I don't really think there's a lot of tie-in between FSD and navigation, which is why I was saying before, Pete and I have obviously experienced cases where the navigation has put the car in the incorrect lane, and then FSD has decided that, oh no, I have to turn right in 50 metres, 3 lanes across, and just sort of makes a beeline for where it needs to go. Again, it does it safely because it would never do it when there were cars in the way, but it just looks unideal. So the Cedric Street thing, what would happen is you're better off actually
He's
removing your
asking you to turn
destination.
left.
So you remove your
Yeah.
destination and you just let it keep driving,
Yeah.
and it would generally keep driving forwards until you sort of basically point it to the off ramp and then engage it, and
Yeah.
it'll just
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
driving around the on
Yeah.
ramp or off ramp, whatever,
Yeah.
and then it will sort itself out.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Norm, you got a hand up, and then I'll go to Colin.
I really enjoyed watching the FSD videos. Pete's and yours, they're great. My question was, with autopilot, of course, the speed change up and down doesn't automatically happen. What happens in full self-driving?
It sort of does. It generally does. And in fact, it does something that's interesting. When you come into a town that's got a lower speed limit, the speed limit that's shown on the car will only change once you effectively pass that sign, or the sign, you're basically level with it.
Yep.
And Pete, you've probably seen this. It actually slows down, and I'm sure it's because it's optically seen the speed limit sign in its FSD mode, and clearly the speed limit setting mode is like an autopilot function. That's a separate sort of function that runs in parallel. So that doesn't update until you go past, but FSD has already started to slow down, presumably because it's optically seen the speed limit sign itself. It doesn't necessarily get to the speed limit. It might
True.
still be in excess of it, but
True.
it's definitely responsive earlier than the, let's call it the autopilot based or TAC based system. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
One thing it no longer does, though, is on autopilot, what you are able to do is, if you, let's say you're going 45k an hour in a 70 or 80 zone, you could just press on the speed limit sign on your UI, on your screen, and it would just accelerate to the speed limit. That functionality is gone. So I don't know, once again, if whether we've just got a dumbed down or a lockdown version of what will eventually go to the public. But yeah, it doesn't work. You can tap it as much as you want, makes no difference.
That's right, yeah. But it does, but you can, there is something else you can do too. On the right-hand scroll wheel is, if you scroll it upwards, it shows max. It says, let's say the speed limit's 110. No, let's say it's 60. I mean, I've had to do this at a couple of school zones where it's been a little bit unresponsive to school zones at the correct time. So on your scroll wheel, if it's doing 60 and you want it to do 40, you just scroll down on your scroll wheel, and you can do it rapidly to do 5 kilometer steps. And you can go 40, and then it has the word max. Now that only appears when you're actually at that speed. If you're slower than that speed, it doesn't show all the time. But when you get to that speed or you're higher than that speed, it'll show this thing max. I think if it's going slower than it should, so say for example the speed limit is shown as 40 or 50 or 60, and you want to do 80 or 90 or 100, you can up this thing, this max number, and it's sort of.
No worries.
Oh, sorry, I just got to mute Pete. So I think it generally takes that signal if the max number is higher than the perceived speed limit, and you give it some encouragement, it will come up to that speed. So it's not really a minimum speed, it's more a max, but it kind of acts both ways. So the great thing is, that's something I needed to mention was we unfortunately won't have a recorded Ask Us Anything next week because I've got to take my car on a FSD lap starting tomorrow. So we won't be in next week. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is one thing I'm glad about is anyone that's done a lap on autopilot will know that you probably engage autopilot about 90% of the times, because there are about 10% of locations whereby the speed is incorrectly sensed or determined, and the car will refuse in country areas to go higher than 10 kilometres above the indicated speed limit, or what it perceives to be the speed limit. Thankfully, FSD won't do that. It'll certainly go faster than what it sees as the speed limit. And you can use the thumb wheels to sort of help it do that. So that is one thing that is good. It's decoupling the strict adherence to the speed limit sign or the perception of the sign.
One more.
Yes,
Just one
Noel.
more. When returning from the city going south, at South Terrace turnoff, the car picks up the 60 kilometer speed limit on the freeway.
Yeah.
I wonder, does FSD do that or not?
It hasn't done it for me. I've gone there many times.
Okay.
But actually, to be honest, Norm, I've not noticed my car pick up that 60 sign even in autopilot, to be honest.
Okay.
But it certainly doesn't in FSD. But yeah, that can be quite frustrating. The only thing is, in the city, which is sort of perverse, in the city, autopilot, if it perceives a speed limit of 20, it'll let you do 110. You just keep dialing it up and it'll let you do that. If you're in the country, it will only allow you to go no more than 10 kilometers if you've set a 10 kilometer per hour offset in your autopilot menu. And that can be really frustrating. Now, in the country, autopilot will automatically reduce its speed when it comes to a slower speed limit. And if you haven't touched autopilot, it will often automatically go back up to the speed as you leave the town and it goes to the new speed limits. In the city, it doesn't do that. So you got this kind of weirdness of you can go as fast as you like over the speed limit in the city on autopilot, but not so in the country. But at least in the country, it'll do semi-automatic or automatic speed changes through speed zones. But FSD does an amalgam of all of that, and sort of it all gets crunched together and just works.
Norm, earlier today, I noticed there was two, those cars that they have on the freeway, those trucks, those incident response vehicles or whatever they're called. And they had big 40 kilometre an hour speed limit signs on them. And they would have only been a couple of meters off the curb of the road. And obviously no one even noticed them because they were just on the back of a truck. And I was wondering if FSD would pick that up and slow down to the 40k an hour in the 70 zone. And it didn't brake. It's like they weren't even there. So I was quite amazed by that.
Me too. Yep. That same thing happened to me. It was 60k zone on the freeway, and the car did what all the other cars did, which was proceed to ignore it. And I'm not saying that's correct. It's just what it did. Okay, Colin.
Hey, everyone. Interesting that you were mentioning before, Harold, we've spoken about this before, about the issues with the mapping data and the nav data around the Bunbury Outer Ring Road. we're due any day for the next nav data update, and I have seen some stuff online that some people already have it. So I was curious if anyone here had got the new nav data. Oh, Mike's saying he has.
Oh, go
Yes,
Mike.
Yes, I got an update a couple of days ago. It was navigation data only. Only that. Can't tell the difference, to be honest. And it hasn't affected the speed issue that I harp on about. My favourite topic. sorry, Harold.
That's all right.
But yeah, the
it
nav
is new-
data came
it's-
through a few days ago. I thought, oh, maybe I'm getting something interesting. But no, it was just nav data. And I
What
can't-
version is yours, Mike?
now you're testing me. Blah, blah, blah. Just a second, because I use my shoe phone as a camera, so I can't look on that. But I did take a
okay.
pic, I think, which should be here. It's just thinking. Sorry, guys, while I'm doing this.
No, you don't have nav data on your app, I don't think.
No, I
Just
think
says
it's
Yeah,
software.
you do in a certain location. It's not in the
Oh.
front part; it's in a different part.
Okay.
I think from memory, the number in the middle is something like 5774 or something like that.
Okay, I'm looking at mine. It says
Yes.
2025.8-15507.
It's old, Pete. It's the 8th week of 2025.
Yeah, so the
That's what
dot
the 8
the dot
means.
8's the old one, so the new one will be like dot, I don't know, 30.
After we just finish this and Colin's had his comment, I'll switch off and just go and have a look and come back to you.
Yeah, cool. All right. Yeah, go,
Maybe
Colin.
I was curious if anyone had it, and if they did have it, had they done the Bunbury Outer Ring Road, and could they report whether it's fixed those remaining issues with that? Because that's been a real bugbear for me, because I live in Bunbury and go through that area all the time.
Mine's on the update today, Colin, and it still doesn't show the top half of the ring road.
You're kidding?
No, we're in Leschnault, and I've just punched in Busselton, and it's saying to go through Eaton and Millbridge and then cut across onto the new road and do the bottom half of it. So I didn't get it.
Man, I'm so disappointed. That opened in December. Like, how have they not got the nav data right now?
So, Trev, you've confirmed you've got 2025.8.
Oh, hang on, sorry. I'll just switch screens. I have got 2025.26.7.
Yeah,
No,
that's
you need the nav data, the next one down.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. No, it is 25.8. You're right.
Yeah, so that's the old data. So the next one will be 2025 dot, I don't know, 38 or something like that.
Yeah, yep.
So yeah, I'm
sorry,
really hoping it's fixed.
I
Probably
just
not
noticed when
really.
I got home today, I saw it starting to download. I just assumed it was both or nav, but yeah.
cool. I think Mike had his hand up before. That's okay. All right. Is there any other questions? Because I want to briefly touch on the 2025 CEO Performance Award. But if we just flush out some last FSD things, just for now. If anyone's got any questions, no.
Can I just say, if anyone wants a come for a ride, just let me know either through Facebook or Alex. I just show you've got my number, Alex. Just give me a call, mate. But yeah, just through our Tokwa Facebook page, just let me know there, or if you've already got my number, just let me know directly, and I'll do what I can. Yep.
Thanks for your generosity.
Just to make life harder for you, Pete, just put your number in the chat so then anyone can
That's a
ring
good
you.
idea. Yep, that's a
Especially
good
that
idea.
we've got a
I'll
full
do
house
that.
tonight.
Then you can punish yourself.
I'll hit you up as well, Pete, if I ever get some time. I did have a question though. Will you do you guys get it rolled back, like get it taken back off you again, or have you just
Don't
got it
know.
in?
Know, Richard. That there are a few people. So a guy called Ludicrous Feed. That was a car that was lent to him by Tesla, so that went back.
Nash from Tesla in the Gong had to return his car.
That was a borrowed car.
I think I'd seen a few of those, and I assume that you guys had it rolled back, but obviously not.
No, Ryan's the guy Ryan Cowan or something like that.
Yeah.
His thing is Ryan's Model Y. He bought a downgraded Juniper just to get hardware for, but he hasn't paid for FSD, and I think he has stated on X that he's going to get rolled back. after a month, after 4 weeks.
Must have seen that. Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and understandably, because he shouldn't have it forever if he hasn't paid for it. I have no idea if mine will get rolled back. I have paid for it several times. But I just don't know.
cheers, mate.
I do know I'm doing a lap starting tomorrow for 11 days. I'm taking it nice and slowly. So I'll obviously have it until then. And to be brutally honest, if I'm grateful to have it for as long as I have it at Tesla's behest, or as long as it's useful for them or whatever. But Tesla giveth and Tesla can taketh away. But eventually, in the next few weeks or months, it will be wide release, and I've paid for it, so I might lose it and then get it back or not. I don't know. And to be brutally honest, I haven't asked them. Because I just don't need to ask them stuff like that. You just use it
for sure.
and
don't want to overuse the privilege.
Good.
And I mean, and I don't want to blow my own trumpet, but I'm going to drop a few K just doing this stupid lap just to prove that you can do it. Actually, I've got an ulterior motive, and I'd like everyone to support it, which is something like throwing down the gauntlet to Elon Musk to say, we've now circumnavigated an entire continent on FSD. Tick. Done by XAI, by Tesla AI. Wouldn't it be amazing to do the same lap using nothing but superchargers?
Absolutely.
Tesla, you can do it in FSD. Let's do this lap with superchargers. And if you don't do the whole country, let's at least do the Nullarbor and a few other routes.
Well,
actually, try and make something, make a big deal. So you've got, various other YouTubers and other characters that highfalutin themselves that they drove, all the way from LA to San Francisco or something.
The only strategy that I can see they might be thinking is, well, when we hit it, we'll hit it hard with Tesla semis, and we'll build a charging network then, and there will also be car chargers. That's my
but why not build the structure?
I agree.
But do the backbone now, and you can quietly in fact, version 3 or version 4 DC power box is compatible with MCS, the Mega charging standard.
Right.
So you can simply just change the nozzle and upgrade it for trucks. But I'm going to do this. It's just a demonstration thing, and I mean it's going to be very, very interesting to see what it does with kangaroos, which is going to be pretty frightening. And cows and stuff, it'll be really calming because cows are large and slow, and it's all good. But I really want to try and turn it into something more positive, which is, hey, let's get some superchargers happening in this continent, But anyway.
Actually, quickly, Harold, on that point, the news during this week was that Tesla has opened up superchargers to be white labeled and purchased by other companies.
Yep.
So maybe the NRMA can use the superchargers, can use, and Tesla will manage and
maintain
them as well. So you'll get in the car network. So maybe NRMA should have a think about that.
Well, if we segue, we won't quite segue yet to the CEO compensation plan, but if Tesla shares do what it does, then there could be a few pro individuals that might go, stuff it, we'll do a Johnny Edwards and just buy some superchargers. But let's segue to that in a sec. Mike, you've still got your hand up, and then we might go on to...
I was just going to comment. So that software update definitely came down about 3 or 4 days ago for me.
Navigation.
The number is, it does have 8 in it, as in 2025.8. So you're saying that's August. Well, obviously, for whatever reason.
No, it's the 8th week. That's February. It's February.
Right. No,
it's not the new one.
Because it definitely came down a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The green arrow was at the top and all that stuff. So I don't know why I've got February's update in September then.
You sure it wasn't the other software?
No, it was navigation. It allowed me to
please
drive while
take
it was downloading because I have it patched through my iPhone on the wireless. So that's all I can say is that, and that I saw that on X, and my new number was the same as this guy reported on X. So a few others have got the navigation update in the last week. If it's February, why the hell does that not come through earlier? Anyway, whatever. So
yeah, very strange.
That's that one. If Trev's in the room, I've got a comment for him. I think, Trev, you're still here. I don't know if you're listening or not, because I think he's in
Yes,
the
he is.
background.
He's there. Yep, he's there.
So I don't know if you remember, Trev asked about his Bluetooth iPhone 12 a couple of weeks ago, messing him around. So
Colin.
yes, so I had a look. My wife's got a 12. I've got a 13 mini. Or was it Colin, was it? Sorry,
That's
Trev.
me, I'm still having that problem.
Right. So mine lost the plot this last week after. No, it just lost the plot this week. So what I had to do, and so what the effect was that my wife has preference due to her contacts, because she's the one who gets all the phone calls, being the social director. So her contacts has preference over mine, even though I might be the profile that's currently driving. I guess those of you know what that means. So it lost all that. So it wouldn't connect to my phone by Bluetooth. It would stay stuck on my wife's, or it would stay stuck on mine and not preference her or go to her. So all I did was I deleted the car from both iPhones. I did them one at a time, but I deleted mine first from the iPhone, deleted hers from the iPhone, told it to forget completely in Bluetooth about the car. Then on the car, deleted that Bluetooth profile also, and then repaired it all and went through the process as if it was new, and it's fine. Now, I think, Colin, you said you'd done that, but I don't know if it helps. And I tried it once with mine initially, and it didn't work, and that's because I'd only told it to forget the phone and not forget on the car as well. And I had to restart the phone in between. So it was almost like the Bluetooth signal was still up in RAM or something, and the car was still talking to that, and so it didn't recognize the new pairing. So
okay, I think I've only done it one way around. I think I deleted the phone from the car.
You've got to do both. I can say that definitely. It would not work if you've only. So I think initially I tried not repairing it, but you know when you press the little person symbol next to your Bluetooth on the Bluetooth menu, and you've got all your keys, and it might be under locks actually, and you press the little person symbol and it goes save to your profile. So I did that a couple of times, nothing. So it was literally almost, it's the old Windows stuff, wipe everything and restart.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if that helps, Colin.
I'll give that a try and see if I can fix it.
Yeah,
it's still happening. It's like 95% of the time it doesn't reconnect, but 5% of the time it does. And I go, oh, it's connected. What?
Yes, it's odd. And it's saying it took a shutdown of the phone as well, as in a full shutdown, not a sleep.
Yeah.
So, press the two buttons, get it closed down. Because I've got a 13 mini, she's got the 12.
Yeah.
So that was that. If I continue, Harold, at all, I've got a couple of points.
Yeah, go on. I'll do a shout out to Chuck, who's just put a couple of points in the comments. But yeah, go, Mike, and then we'll go.
Did have a app software update this week as well. So the one on your phone. So that updated on mine this week. And when it did that, and this is why I'm not going to mention anything on this recorded session in front of Tesla anymore, because they changed things. So I don't know. We talked about how do you wake the car up without opening it. So I have to squeeze down the side of my car, and I don't want my wing mirrors out when I'm unplugging and plugging. So when it's been asleep for 8 hours, I just want it to wake up but not unlock. So I mentioned to you, Harold, that the way I was doing it was where the status is, where it says asleep for 8 hours or parked or something. I touched that, and that did the trick. Well, after this software update, the text moves as if it's a button still, but it doesn't open it up anymore. It doesn't wake it up anymore. However, I discovered that they've shifted it to the stripe that's the charging cable that's green, blue, or white, or whatever it is. If you touch that, it wakes it up from sleep but doesn't open it. So they've just shifted the position. That's how it works
Yeah,
on my
right.
iPhone 13 mini.
So you mean to say you touch the green charge
Yeah,
cable?
so the green snake, that's the cable,
Yep.
you just touch that and it wakes. So it might say asleep for 8 hours. If you touch that, it then goes to parked.
Very good.
So if that helps, what else did I have on the list? Oh, yes. So those of you who have full self-driving supervised in testing, would you like to turn on your over speed limit buzzer or pinger? Because I haven't been able, it won't be you, Harold, because you're going on a trip shortly. But Pete, and because going up the freeway, I'd like to know whether all these off ramps where going up the freeway, the speed changes to 70 or whatever the speed ramp is. And because I have that on, because I need something to remind me the cars are damn quiet that I'm speeding, I have that on. And of course, I ignore it now because it just pings along. So if you're coming, say, from South Street up towards the city, there's several spots where it'll change to 80 in the 100 zone. And going north, there's several spots where it changed to 70 in the 100 zone. And it's all to do with OpenStreetMaps, as we know. But I'd just be interested whether that's, I know you guys don't, honestly, you probably don't notice it because it's only for like 200 meters or something. It's not a big deal, but it's wrong. And I'm still showing that 5 kilometer an hour near my place, right? So you only notice it if you've got that dinger on because it comes on. You think, what the hell's that? And you go, oh, why is it showing 5 kilometers an hour?
Yeah, I'm not adverse to the dinger because this lap will be the most monitored lap. I've got 7 terabytes of SD cards and 3 or 2 GoPros and a DJI something strapped to the roof of my car, looking at my dash and steering wheel and screen more concerningly. So it'll be the most observed lap. So I definitely won't be speeding. Sorry, I definitely won't be exceeding the speed limit at all.
No, it's just if OpenStreetMaps drops the speed limit for unknown reasons, right? Well, for known reasons. And
I'm not even sure if that works in FSD, to be brutally honest.
That's what I want to find out, because I think
we'll give it a go.
I think you're correct saying that the stack is so divorced from whatever's in there currently for the rest of us that's probably gone. But I don't know that yet. I've tried to watch your and thanks again, both of you, for doing all the videos. I've tried to watch them carefully, but it's a bit blurry when you're looking at it on X and whatever, so it's a bit hard. And by the way, Pete, I do like your style recently. You're, what is it? Looking at all the angles, your head movement, because you're filming yourself. That's really good, because that's what you do as a normal driver if you were driving it yourself, right? And I think the people in Sydney said the thing about FSD that changes, you're not interested in the navigation anymore because you know it's going to get there. You're actually a better driver because you're more observant, which I thought was an interesting take.
Yeah, the studies, there's a couple of studies that have actually looked at this, and they found that when you initially get a advanced, a high level ADAS system, advanced driver assistant system, initially your awareness, your situational awareness is degraded because you're so focused on the system and how the system, you're observing the system. But once you become a bit more trusting of it, a bit more experienced with it, your situational awareness actually increases above and beyond what it would be with someone driving the car manually. And it kind of makes sense because you're not doing any of those, micro movements with the steering wheel anymore. You can look a little bit further out rather than just sort of worrying about where it is where the car is in your lane, etc.
Yeah.
Although having said that, just 2 seconds, Mike. Having said that, one disadvantage of FSD supervised at the moment is the attention detection from the cabin camera is dialed up to 11.
Max.
So if you turn your eyes away for more than just a few seconds, you'll immediately get a beep. And I got a strike out. Actually, Pete, how many strikes did you get out the other day?
Oh, hero.
What, none? No, 3. I see the little fingers are up in the air.
Hang on. Hang on.
That's not true. I know that you said you got 3 strikes.
When did I say that? No, I might have had 3, you know, when it just
Strikes you out,
warned
yeah.
you. Yeah, so I
Yep.
might have had 3 warnings, but I've had 0 strikes on FSD supervised so far.
Okay, that's not how I recalled it, but anyway, you called it strikes, but maybe it was just warnings.
Okay,
I
so
had one.
I can definitely, whatever I said, I can definitely clarify. I've had 0 strikes. So
Okay, well, I had a strike.
Plenty of warnings, but yeah, but you're absolutely right. All you need to do is just look at the maps to try and change the destination or what have you. And if you're not looking at the road and then looking at, you know, if you've got your eyes on the screen for, you know, 2 or 3 seconds, you get a warning straight away.
Yep.
So,
yeah. Now, just to circle
sorry, I
around.
was just gonna-
Sorry, 2 seconds. Mike,
No, sorry.
I'll go straight back to you, but I just want to acknowledge Chuck here. He did say that Jason Cartwright, who is Tech AU, drove on a dirt road with cows and it detected them as people on the display. That's actually dead right. What it does is actually anything that moves that's not a machine is a person. So dogs are humans. I've seen a sheep going across a dirt road, and that was a human, and that's kind of good because cars are taught not to kill humans. My only concern, of course, is if it's a kangaroo standing by the side of the road, it'll go, oh, that's just a human, and humans don't normally try and commit suicide spontaneously on roads, thankfully, but kangaroos do, so that's going to be a bit of a worry. But anyway, so everything at the moment, the visualization is, and this will happen to me up north, the cows on the road will just be people. And I'm sure there'll be haters that go, oh, look, the car can't even tell the difference between a person and a cow. But, you know, I'm sure cows are people too. And also...
Sorry.
Yep. Go, Chuck.
Just to interrupt there, I can confirm that I've seen dogs show up as dogs on the screen. On autopilot.
On FSD, they don't. Yeah, they don't on FSD.
So FSD's got different images, right?
Yep, everyone's a person. Everything's a person.
Okay. No, I've had dogs as dogs, and I've had wallabies as dogs as well.
Right.
So
right. Good to know. Very good.
I can't remember what the emu that I saw on the Nullarbor showed up as. So sorry, I don't quite remember that one. Might have not been close enough.
That's going to be the great thing about having all these GoPros filming in 4K is retrospectively you can actually see what it saw.
Because when I see an animal on the road in front of me, I'm too busy looking at the animal to pay attention to the
precisely. All right, so Mike, if you just finish your point, we'll go to Paul.
Yeah, I'll just finish off. So I don't know if you saw anybody tonight. Channel 7 had this minor, almost in-city trip between Sydney and Melbourne publicised heavily. So, Harold, you're going to be a legend on Channel 7.
Oh no, they don't know I exist. It's just funny. I don't want to sound well. These latte sipping Eastern States people that think that driving between Sydney and Melbourne is some kind of arduous journey that needs to be logged and blogged and disgusting in anal detail as something so challenging. I mean, it's a bloody day trip, and it's on a Hume Highway, which is the smoothest, best piece of road around. And no, it's not an adventure. No, it's not interesting. You know, bloody drive in the bush somewhere and do that for a few days and then write a blog about it. But anyway, all right, Paul.
I want to change tack. I want to talk about Elon's package.
Thank you. All right. And we'll do it in the most non-rude sense we can.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tesla's special committee, which is Robin Denholm and one of the other lady directors of members of the board of Tesla, formed a special committee to work out to resolve the ills of the previously forbidden 2018, or still currently forbidden 2018 CEO package. And just a quick explainer there, Elon Musk was entitled to 300 million shares, I think roughly.
Around that.
And Kathleen McCormick, the Delaware judge, has struck down that that compensation package that was voted as a supermajority, well, a significant majority of all Tesla shareholders that were permitted to vote. So Musk and Kimball Musk had to recuse themselves from the vote, so they didn't count. But that was voted for twice and approved twice by shareholders, once prospectively before it happened and once retrospectively after it happened. And Tesla has resolved to fix that if the appeal is not successful, and it's basically to hand Musk the 300 million shares that he's already earned. Of course, that's going to have large tax implications and other things, but let's just put that aside for now. What they've come up with next, which is going to be voted on at the upcoming shareholders meeting in, I'm pretty sure it's November.
Yep, 6th of November.
Is this, and I'll put this screen up because it's the simplest, or it explains everything sort of in a little nutshell. So we all know that Tesla's current market capitalization is approximately $1 trillion. And what this is there are 12 tranches, and at each tranche, should each tranche be successfully completed, Elon Musk will gain 1% of additional shares of the company, or a 1% share. So there is a total of 12 tranches, which means he gains, if he completes all of them, he'll reach another 12% of the company. Now, if you think of this as a deal, as a shareholder, so many of us in the room and others are shareholders, if the entire program is completed, which Elon Musk has a uncanny knack of doing so, because he's done so in the other two quite ambitious plans, we will give up 12% of our shares, or we accept a 12% dilution in order to gain an 8.5 times gain in our market of our shares, the price of our shares. 8.5 times, 850%. But we'll just put that figure aside just for now. If we look at the tranches, the first one is $2 trillion. So what happens is, if Tesla's market cap for a certain number of months of the year, and I think it's a significant number, attains a market cap of $2 trillion, and any one of these operational milestones, it's not in order, it's any one.
Yeah, so I got his tap done.
Sorry, let me just, who was that was
Mark
off mute?
I think he's
Sorry,
guys, I've muted
Just
myself.
mute everyone, Harold.
Oh, yeah, just
and then
mute.
it's easy.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Cheers. Okay, so any one of these tranches, you've got to combine it with one of these operational milestones. Doesn't matter which one; they're not in order. So let's just, and to be honest, nothing's going to happen for a couple of years, because Tesla's built in total at 8 million vehicles, so they're not going to build another 12 million in the next 2 years. They're not going to get 10 million active FSD subscriptions in the next couple of years, because there are only 8 million Teslas ever sold. And 1 million robots is going to take some time, and 1 million robo-taxis in commercial operations is going to take some time. And Tesla's current EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxation, depreciation, and amortization, is currently, I think, $11 billion. So 50 is going to be, nearly, about 4 times earnings. But anyway, let's just say, as Elon Musk is used to doing, he slowly chips away at these tranches. And you'll notice the first one is a doubling. The next one is a 50% increase on today's market cap. It goes up 1 trillion hurdle first, and then there's $500 billion hurdles all the way up to $6.5 trillion on the 10th tranche. The 11th, you need another cool trillion, and on the 12th, another trillion. the last two tranches cannot be gained unless Elon Musk actively participates in a succession plan, which is important. But the board did obviously say that they already do have various succession plans because they have to have, for logical reasons, they have to have disaster planning. Elon Musk's plane crashes tonight. What happens? And these things happen. He gets assassinated, whatever. He has an aneurysm, drops dead, wakes up dead, whatever. So some of the, and then I guess you've got the last three are 400 billion, 400 billion, 400 billion. And you might go, well, why is that? That doesn't really make a lot of sense. And it's because in the explanatory documentation, the special committee actually had a table that they said the reasoning behind the $8.5 trillion market cap and the 400 billion adjusted EBITDA was that they took the top three companies, or at least three of the top companies, I think it was Meta, Nvidia, and Alphabet, something like that, and their combined market cap is about 8.5 trillion, and their current EBITDA earnings is about 400 billion. And they arrive at an average price to earnings, or at least price to EBITDA ratio of about 20. Now the thing is, Meta and Alphabet, the company that owns Google, or that holds Google, their PE is in the low 20s, but Nvidia's is at about 40 because Nvidia is still a growth company, so it's still experiencing growth. You normally get PEs of about 20 for stable, boring businesses, cash cows, but for growth businesses, it's usually significantly higher. For example, at the moment, Tesla's PE is, I think it's about 99, because it looks backwards. It's at today's earnings, not the future earnings. Or should I say, the PE is calculated on current earnings, whereas Tesla's share price is being affected by what's coming in the future. So when we look back at these tranches and this market cap, so if us shareholders agree, and let's face it, who would not give up 12% of their shares to get an 850% gain? Or should I say 88% of 850%? It's just the deal of
what would the share price be?
So
$2,600.
the presumption, So the presumption, if you look at market cap, the presumption is, as he achieves the last tranche, the shares are worth 8.5 trillion, and in order to actually get the tranche, the earnings have to be, or EBITDA earnings have to be 400 billion. The thing is, if Tesla has got earnings of 400 billion per annum, what will probably happen is Tesla will achieve a market cap of 8.5 trillion a few years before it achieves a EBITDA of 400 billion. And when Musk actually earns the tranche within the time limit of the next 10 years, presuming he does, Tesla's share price will not be a mere, and that's a really funny thing to say, a mere 8.5 trillion. They would be more like, not financial advice, but more like 16 or 17 trillion dollars. So the gain is not a 8.5x. It's more like a 15, 16, 17x gain.
Assuming a 40 times PE.
Assuming a 40 times PE, because Tesla has only just begun mass manufacturing, or starting to hit their straps with mass manufacturing of Optimus robots, and having much more than a fleet of 1 million robo-taxis in commercial operation, or much more than 20 million vehicles delivered ever.
It was interesting they didn't have energy amongst all that, eh? You know, before they showed
No,
the
there's no
very
energy.
about that.
It's probably because energy is presumed to just be a key part of Tesla's business, but it's really going to be a cash cow.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, it's going to change the world. No, sorry, it's going to help the world. It's not going to change the world. Whereas the Optimus robots, that's the hard stuff. As Elon Musk said at the All In, it wasn't a podcast, but it was the All In
Summit.
Today. Yeah. Thanks. Yes. So it's stupendously difficult. In fact, one little aside is he actually predicted that the cost of the inference chip or the computer in the Optimus robot would be as much as $5,000, which
$5,000
is
to $6,000.
Very interesting. So that's actually really high, surprisingly high. But then again, the bot has to do a lot, whereas the car only has to drive, and it's vastly easier to drive than it is to do anything a human can do in a humanoid form. But yeah, so this is the 2025 CEO compensation plan. I think Elon Musk took 3 years to achieve the 2018 plan. And that, again, I remember a great mate of mine, and we've got some Tesla shares, just quietly. We kind of went, that deal is so outlandishly good that if we could ever dream of it happening, we'd be rather effluent. And we went, of course we give up 10% of our shares. That's the deal of the century. And, 3 years later, it happened. Now, there's no way these 12 tranches are going to be achieved in 3 years. It's just physically impossible. It's just not going to happen. But that's okay, because this is a 10-year plan. There's a few aspects. For any tranches that Elon Musk can achieve in the next 5 years, it can then vest. It's a little bit complicated, some of the ways they've actually done this, but in essence, it's intended to keep Elon Musk very much engaged in Tesla. And in fact, there's even some clauses that say he needs to basically fully withdraw, well, not fully, but substantially withdraw from his political machinations and all that sort of distraction from the task of running Tesla. And, there is no doubt that in certain jurisdictions, Tesla as a brand is on the nose with many potential buyers purely because of political shenanigans and other things brought on by Elon Musk himself for his own reasons. And it's just like you can't defy gravity. It's just a fact. We don't have to like it, but that's what a significant number of people feel, and you can't criticize people for their feelings. But so there is an aspect where he is locked in. If he achieved all the tranches in 5 years, he's locked in for 7.5. If he doesn't achieve all the tranches in the first 5 years, he effectively is locked in for 10. And there are holding periods for his shares, except for the purposes of selling them for taxation purposes and other things. But it basically is a 10-year plan. And I actually think, at the very least, if he could somehow magically achieve all these tranches extraordinarily rapidly, he's still locked in, even once it succeeds, for at least 7.5 years, and probably more logically for the next 10 years. And let's face it, by then he'll be in his low 60s. And again, to get the last two tranches, which is a lazy 2% of the company, he needs to fully engage and cooperate with the board or the special committee, probably the board, to do a complete, comprehensive succession plan. Not just an emergency one that the board already has in their back pocket.
Also, Harold, if he doesn't achieve even the first tranche, he gets zero, zip, nothing, not even a salary, nothing.
Precisely. So it's all his risk and our reward to gain, should they be achieved. And like I said, if someone comes up to you and says, give me 12% of your stuff and I'll turn it into an 8.5 times its value, and if I don't get to achieve it, you don't pay anything or lose anything, that is a great deal, no matter what anyone says. Oh, and I specifically in the news mentioned that the accounting value, and in fact the tax value to Tesla, so Tesla will have to pay a tax effect on approximately $83 billion, because that is what approximately 300 million Tesla shares are worth today at the discounted strike price that Tesla is going to issue these special purpose shares to Elon Musk at. Now, the mainstream news will have the headline that the board has just gone crazy and decided to gift Elon Musk $1 trillion. Now, what turns the $83 billion into $1 trillion is the fact that the $83 billion is the value of the shares as Tesla are going to transfer them to Elon Musk at its current $1 trillion market cap. Once the market cap goes to $8.5 trillion, because that's what all these news agencies are presuming, that it'll just get to $8.5 trillion, that'll be it. But like I said before, it's inevitable that if Tesla is earning 400 billion EBITDA per annum, their share price will be substantially higher than $8.5 trillion. Then the value of those shares will become $1 trillion. But that's because they've gained in value, not because that's what's going to cost Tesla shareholders.
Yeah. And what I saw from Cern Bash's one was when Elon vests his shares, if it was like that, then Elon would be paying Tesla like $141 billion for the shares. And then his tax bill would be like in hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yes.
So he go from the highest tax single individual tax payment of 11 billion would be small in comparison to a minimum of, it was like 400 billion. And then if it was the 16, then it was going to be over $1 trillion to go to the American taxpayers.
Yeah,
it's just
and
amazing.
So I think it was it Cern Basher or someone else that also said that $1 trillion that Elon Musk will be worth is 3 times the GDP of Finland.
It might have been Joe Backley. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yes, it was. Yes, yeah, I think that was. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a stupendous amount of money, and Judge McCormick, her opening, the first sentence of her judgment was a rhetorical question that said, "Does the richest man on earth need more money?" Yes. And it's like, it's just the wrong question. The question is, if you own shares in a company, if the CEO of BHP and you had BHP shares said, if I 8 times your money, are you prepared to give me 12% of those shares? And if I don't do any of that, I get paid nothing. Would you accept it as a deal? You'd almost, I'm not going to say you're going to be an idiot not to accept it, but it's just not going to make a lot of sense not to accept that deal on face value.
Yeah.
So there you go. So that's
hopefully next month with the October Supreme Court hearing in Delaware. Hopefully they finally listen to us shareholders since we voted twice, and then
otherwise
that just rescinds all that other crap.
Otherwise, it'll cost us shareholders. Because bearing in mind, all the shares that Elon Musk had rightly earned have already all that tax has been paid for years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
If Tesla has to do the alternative plan, which is just issue Elon Musk a fresh 300 million shares and cancel the other ones, the tax effect will be today's price at the original strike price, which will be
probably cost us.
I think it's over 100 billion or $50 billion dollars.
Yeah, 50 to 100 depends on what the strike price will be.
Yeah. Righty. So
there's actually sorry, go Harold.
Oh no, I was just going to say, anyone got any other questions?
I was just going to say, one way, if you don't like the 12% dilution, and having to effectively have 12% less shares, but your remaining shares being worth 850% more, if you don't like that for whatever reason, well, that's easily fixed. Just go and buy 12% more of your shares right now. Sorted.
Yeah, wait till the price doubles or triples, and then no, you can't do that.
No.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. No, you can't. There's no way of doing it. Yeah, that's right. Just just well, my suggestion is shut up and be happy.
Yeah.
If someone doubled your shares and took 1%, I don't think you're ripped off just quietly. And if then from the previous value of $1 trillion to another half a trillion extra, another 50% for another 1%, you're not getting ripped off, people. You're just not.
No.
And you could see that in the way that the shareholders voted retrospectively after they didn't need to vote. They could have said no because they could say, "Oh, sucked in. We sucked you in, Elon. You did the job, and well, so what? We'll just keep our money." It was almost to within 1% of the same number of shareholders that voted retrospectively for that deal, the original 2018 deal. So this is a great deal. It's intended specifically to keep Elon Musk specifically engaged in Tesla. He gets the thing he wants most, which is not money, is the ability to resist being turfed out as a CEO by a smallish group of recalcitrant fund managers and others that may want to plot against him, because with a roughly 25 to 30% voting right, at least then to blast Elon Musk out. If you went crazy, then the remaining 75% only have to do a total of 50. So 2/3 of 75% can vote him out. But you won't get 2/3 of recalcitrant activist shareholders that do that just in spite. So it's good for him and it's good for us. It gives him the assurance, because he's very concerned about what companies will do with AI, and he has always stated he wants to do good things for AI or with AI and doesn't want bad things to happen. And he's never produced a product that's deliberately done anything bad or even accidentally done bad things. He always wants to do better. He's also known as a long-termist, and long-termists believe in the long-term good of humanity and consciousness and all that sort of stuff, as opposed to short-term sort of thinking. He thinks in thousands of years ahead, long after he's dead, and everyone around him.
And
all right,
just
sorry, Pete, we just got. Oh yeah, go on, and then we'll throw to Anthony.
Okay, so just really quickly, Mary Barra from the GM CEO collected $30 million last year, and the share price halved during that time. So Elon Musk, if the share price does not at least double, he will get precisely zero. So if it goes down, he'll get precisely zero. So the share price has to double. So all shareholders will have twice as much. The company will be worth twice as much for Elon to even get his 1%. So yeah,
exactly. Anthony, you got your hand up.
Yeah, thanks. Really minor things, not $1 billion. We're talking $50 here. I wondering about mud flaps. I noticed Tesla sells some. I think they only sell it for the front, if I looked at their shop correctly. Whereas Desiree sells some for front and back for $5 or something. I just wondered what you thought of the value in having mud flaps. Are they a problem, or are they?
No, they're good. I've had mine for 6 years now, and easy install, less than 10 minutes. Done.
I've got them on mine. I think they'll be good. They cost next to nothing, and they're really easy to put on yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get them from anywhere.
I've been had the pleasure of using my son Tim's car, who's joined us tonight too, and I just noticed that the streaks coming up from the tires onto the side of the car. It'd be nice to avoid that. Yeah.
And I dare say, don't feel necessarily pressed to buy Tesla genuine stuff. Gone are the days that Tesla really needs us to support them in every minutiae of everything they sell. To be honest, there are some things that Tesla sells as parts or as accessories that aren't very cheap, and I mean that's cool. So yeah, absolutely. Don't feel compelled you have to get original ones if you got them on Tesseries or Teslas or any number of Tesla resellers or sellers. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, absolutely.
And the other one was, and I know you've discussed it many times, but tire pumps. Tesla sell one, and what I thought, you can get. Tim's got the battery one, but I wondered, it comes out of the 12-volt thing. Might be better. Your battery's never going to go flat. The car should always have plenty of charge. Any opinion on?
Yeah, that's the safest. I guess you could say, when all things are going wrong, that will always work. If you've got a battery one, I personally have a Ryobi inflator. It's the most basic small one. It's almost the size of a large battery pack of a Ryobi. And yeah, the one risk is, well, if that battery goes flat, how are you going to charge it? Yeah, absolutely. So the cordless is the most convenient because you don't have to worry about a cord or whatever as you're pumping up a tire or multiple tires. But the corded one is certainly the most resilient to forgetting to recharge something or whatever. But it doesn't have to be the Tesla one. The Tesla one actually is an inflator and a tire sealant, which I generally not personally recommend you to use. I've actually bought one. I think $100 and something or whatever it was, but never used. There's actually like there's a separate. It's one unit, but there's a separable can, which is the goob inflator bit of the goob stuff, which is not connected to the pump in any way. It's got a separate nozzle and a separate thing you screw on. And if you were concerned about slow tire leaks, you're much better off going to some place like Auto Pro or Super Cheap Auto and getting one of those tire repair kits, which is just the unvulcanized rubber slugs, which I've mentioned many times.
Yeah.
And for me, they've personally worked very well. They're temporary, but they've temporarily fixed one of my tires for the rest of its life, which was like another 30,000 kilometers. I know that's not how you're supposed to use it, but it just works anyway. But yeah, absolutely. But if you go to Super Cheap and get another compressor, I can even, just to be brutally fair, a mate of mine used a Tesla inflator in his Tesla Model X. It wasn't inflating a Tesla tire, it was inflating a different tire, which is at a higher pressure, and the Tesla pump blew the fuse in his Model X. So it was a Tesla accessory powered by a Tesla, which got a locked rotor because the starting pressure was high and blew the fuse, which in the Model X is actually fiendishly difficult to get to. So there you go. Just get any inflator that works for you.
Yeah. Sure.
Just quickly on the
Tesla one as well.
Just quickly on the genuine accessories, I agree with Harold. I remember I bought the Tesla genuine mats, and I just don't like them. There's much better options from third party. But what I would definitely recommend, as far as the genuine stuff is concerned, is the UMC. That's the Universal Mobile Connector. If you're going to be getting a charger for your wall, the wall connector, that one is very good value at $800. And there's also the Type 2 to Type 2 cable, the light blue one from Tesla. It's $310. Yes, you can get cheaper ones for about $250, but they probably aren't the right power level, or they're too short, or they're not a genuine Manicas cable. So yeah, I'd pay the $310 for that. So those three things I would get from Tesla. Everything else, most of them are, you can actually find other better value or even better featured products from elsewhere.
Right. Yeah, great. Thank you.
And by the way, I love your surname, Anthony, and Tim's as well. Perfect surname for a EV.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. We have a daughter called Emily, so milliwatts. Yeah.
You should get that custom number plate now.
Yeah.
Sorry, Alex, you've got your hand up.
Hi, while we're on the subject of accessories, Have you got dash mats? Has anyone got dash mats for the Model Y?
I've got them on every car except the Juniper.
I was looking at getting a dash mat, but I don't know where to buy the one from.
They don't really work, Alex. So they
Okay.
work perfectly fine unless you're doing launches, and if you do a launch, it will fly towards you. So
Right.
I didn't want to put sticky tape, double-sided tape, or anything like that on the dash. But yeah, you might need to find a way to get it to hold down, because any other car you'd probably be okay. But you just, with that instant torque, you're just pulling so much G's, it will just fly towards you.
Yep. No, gotcha. Thanks, Pete. And the other question too, I know Harold said it a couple of weeks ago, SSDs. Looking at getting I think it was a Samsung T7. Are they any good, or are they?
Yeah, they're good.
They're
Yep.
good.
But
Okay.
you don't have to
Good
necessarily
enough.
get the dearest ones. There's a there's a few brands starting with letter C. I forget what it's called. Just get any quality SSD, and they're all pretty good. And you can get like a terabyte or whatever, and they work. You can stack so many Century events and other things that your head will spin. But they are good.
They've got to be in special format, I suppose. So
No, you just chuck it
car will
in and you
format
just
it.
say format it. You just go format. It
Okay.
just does it for you. It now works, or it has for quite a while worked completely automatically. It's pretty good.
All right, fantastic.
I'm a big fan of the SDXC cards, but there is a drawback. The car will only accept one up to 256 gig. Anything larger, and the car just won't recognize it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Alex?
but the SSDs are you can get whatever you like.
I got the Samsung T7, just the basic 1 terabyte one. I put it in my car probably 6 weeks ago, and it's worked fine, no problems at all.
All right.
With that automatic formatting, Harold, does that just format the whole drive to be for Century mode? It doesn't do any.
Well, it just puts
that you
no, it
can-
just puts three. I forget the actual formatting where it's exFAT or whatever it is, but it also just puts the files. So there's if you stick it on your computer, you'll see. I think it's Tesla Cam, and then it has 3 separate folders or whatever. But you can actually use it for other things. I think you can put music on it or something.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. If you do put an SSD on, just look up. There's a really good video on YouTube of a guy that shows you how to partition different drives onto your SSD, so you can put your own music, and it adds a new icon appears in your Tesla menu, which is USB, and you can play music off your SSD. And you can put custom light shows and custom sounds and a few other bits and pieces. So
All right.
Perfect.
Do an SSD.
Thanks, Cole.
Cool. All right, and Ryan, you got your hand up.
Yeah, just a quick one. The other day we had a long-term power outage at my house, and I ran a inverter off the Tesla, like a cigarette plug power inverter, and powered my internet modem to give me internet during the time. Just a lot of stuff online was saying don't do that, be careful, etc. Just wondering if anyone has any experience or advice with running inverters off the 12 volt in the Tesla.
Yeah, I've run a Victron. I ended up buying a 350 watt inverter because I couldn't get the 250 watt inverter. I think the power output is about 15 amps at 15 volts, because that's what the LFP newer Model Ys and 3s have in them. Worked perfectly well. Used it for days on end, 24/7. Powering a one part was powering a Starlink, and I was also using it partly for a fridge as well when I was using it in 240 volt mode. Works perfectly well. There's no issue. Just don't go higher than the. Actually, to be honest, in the Model 3 or Model Y, the newer ones, they have E fuses. So if you overdraw power, it will just turn off that output, and that'll be it. And then to get it to reheal itself, you have to make sure the car is not plugged in and charging, and it's locked, and it's gone to sleep. It needs to have a stage 2 sleep or something. Then the E fuse will automatically reset. as opposed to, say, my mate's Model X, whereby he's got a classical fuse which blows. So, no, there's nothing wrong with inverters or any load that is within the power output limits of the outlet. It's perfectly
which
fine.
I think I read was about 190 watts or something like that.
Yes.
Was pushing it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Harold,
I
do you
had
remember when they brought in the e-fuses? Which
No.
models or which year?
No, sorry, no. I think all the Ys have e-fuses. There might be some older threes, perhaps the Fremont threes. So if LYJ or whatever it is, sorry,
5YJ.
5YJ VIN. But if you've got an LRW VIN, I think they have e-fuses. To be honest, you won't really need to worry about it. Actually, you can probably go into your what's the name manual, your instruction manual online on your car, and look up e-fuse and just see. But these days, for anyone that's got a new car, it's certainly e-fuses, which are brilliant because they self-heal if you treat the car correctly. And the reason why I know is I went on a Variety Club mini lap thing, and Chris Chatterton, he had an issue with the Model 3 because he had a fridge and the Starlink, and it popped the fuse, so he couldn't have the e-fuse, he couldn't have Starlink nor the fridge, and he couldn't work out how to reset it, so we had to ask. And like I said, the trick was you can't have the car plugged in charging, and it's got to be locked and not active, and it has to have gone to sleep, so you can't be near it or interacting on the app. And then the e-fuse or the system will say, right, I'll clear that fault and turn the MOSFET or whatever it is transistor basically back on to provide power to that outlet. Mike, you got your hand up. We've just gone over time. And unfortunately, I have to go to bed as soon as I can and wake up ridiculously early. But we'll go to you, Mike, and then Colin.
So just a quickie, we were talking about Type 2 to Type 2s before, and in preparation for my fishing trips coming up down south. So I've seen adverts for three-phase Type 2 Type 2s and single-phase Type 2 Type 2s.
Get
so
the
what do I
three-phase.
know down south?
Three
Get
phase.
the Tesla
So
three-phase.
Three-phase, righto, thank you.
get
That's
the
it.
three phase and also get the 32 amp. And the reason
Yes.
is because if you use your three phase on a single phase that's got 32 amps, but you've bought a 16, if you put an 11 kilowatt three phase cable, you'll only get 16 amps single phase, which is pretty pathetic, even though the charger was probably going to give you, the single phase charger was probably going to give you 32. So do invest in a 32 amp three phase, also known as a 22 kilowatt Type 2 to Type 2. Because if you buy 22 kilowatts and they give you single phase, they're not selling you what they stated. So
And get one that's at least 7.5 meters in case you get iced. You can still use it in the bay next door.
That's
or
why
the
you get
bay
the
after
blue one.
that. You get the blue one, or certainly. Life is short. It is absolutely good quality. I've got one. In fact, I use that at home as just a lead, as it's permanently plugged into a charger, and use that every day, and it works really well. Very good quality. Very good quality. Colin.
Thanks, guys. I was just going to tell for Alex and for anyone else that's interested, I just popped a link in the chat to the YouTube video that tells you how to partition an SSD for Tesla so that you can maximize the customization of it. It's really easy to do. I did it 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, right. I might just click on that, and just for my own purpose when I get back.
The best bit is it lets you add
goes
add your own music in lots of different formats. So like one of the
Hey everyone,
main
today I'm
I had some .wav files that I wanted to put on because they're really high quality music that I'd got, and I couldn't figure out. I wanted to how can I get them in the Tesla so I can listen to the really good quality, and you just drop them in there and they play straight off the bat.
Awesome. All right. Well, regrettably, like I said, because I'm going to turn into a pumpkin very soon. or I'll be a mash pumpkin in the morning. We're going to wrap up this awesome show. Obviously, unfortunately, it won't be a recorded show for anyone that's got to the end of this YouTube thing or X post. Congratulations, or maybe you just skipped ahead, which is pretty wise. But we'll be back on the week after, so Wednesday week. But any last questions before we go?
Thank you to you and Pete for sharing your experience with the full self-driving sort of stuff. It's been great.
Oh, no worries. I can't wait till you guys get it. So then you can do your own videos.
Hardware 3.
But, yes. Yeah. Yes. All right.
You paid for.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I know. Alrighty. Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this as if I didn't already know?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, go FSD, good luck on your big lab, and stay ahead of the curve.
Drive safe.
Yeah.
The best way to do that is buy a Tesla, put FSD on it, get the early access program, and do a stupid lap all the way around Australia. And join TOCWA and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy and abundance. Have a wonderful fortnight, everyone. And really do look forward to seeing you again on next week's episode of TOCWA's Ask Us Anything. Good night, everyone.
Night all.
Not Pete.
Good night.
Everyone.